These beings, according to the Epic of Gilgamesh, decided that they would make man in their image. Even the Mayans and the Aztecs, they claimed that they were some of the first people seated on Earth by the Pleiadians. Were we engaged by beings from outside of the world that came here and brought advanced technologies that to us at that time appeared to be magical? These beings were not the creators of the universe because they said they weren't. They said they had to answer to somebody even higher than them. In that case, who were they? What were they? Hi, I'm Billy Carson. Join me in this grand odyssey of discovery, a quest to traverse the boundless realm of history and mystery as we seek to uncover the truths of the Anunnaki. We'll embark on a monumental journey as we venture deep into the heart of the Anunnaki enigma, where these celestial creators may have sculpted the very fabric of our existence. This series is more than just a documentary. It is a synthesis of historical analysis, scientific rigor, and boundless imagination. Together, these elements weave a narrative rich in detail and wonder, aiming to offer a captivating perspective on the Anunnakis and their enduring mark on humankind and planet Earth. The Epic of Gilgamesh is an ancient Mesopotamian poem that follows the adventures of Gilgamesh, who was a half-human, half-Anunnaki. He was the heroic king of Uruk, and when he was alive, he sought to find the meaning of immortality. The epic explores themes of friendship, the human condition, and the quest for eternal life. Primarily, Gilgamesh's friendship with his friend Enkidu and his subsequent journey after Enkidu's death. The amazing thing about Enkidu is that he was fashioned by the gods. Enlil actually wanted to create a partner for Gilgamesh to go on this journey. So he decreed that he would fashion an actual man for him to have a friend, and they went on this amazing journey together. Enkidu was said to be just as big and just as strong as Gilgamesh. So they were both giants, and they were both extremely strong. Except Gilgamesh was born from a mother's womb, and Enkidu was born in the wilderness without a woman. The Epic of Gilgamesh is just as important today as it was when it was written over 4,000 years ago. And it's important to understand that there's only one guardian of the constellation of Taurus, and that's the Pleiades. The Pleiades is known as the Seven Sisters, 7 stars visible in the sky that reside right above Taurus. From this elevated position, the Pleiades could watch over the constellation of Taurus and protect it. Therefore, if Taurus were to be attacked, the Pleiades had to be dealt with first. The Taurus was there, but it was behind the Pleiades. And Orion was also there, which was owned by Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, in this metaphor, was set to attack the Pleiades, but he had to go through Orion. When you look at the Native American lore, and also even the Mayans and the Aztecs, you discover something very interesting. They all have a very similar story. They claim that they were some of the first people seated on Earth by the Pleiadians. What's even more interesting is when you go down into Australia and talk with the Aboriginal elders, their star lore has a very similar story, and they claim to be the very first people seated on this planet by the Pleiadians. There's even Pleiadian hieroglyphs on a stone at Karyong 9 in Australia, which have not been deciphered as to date, but they date back about 5,000 years. So what's going on here? How can multiple cultures from around the world that had no contact with each other have the same exact story? Who was in that region of space? We're talking about the Anunnaki. Could these be the beings of old across all ancient texts, tablets, and scriptures and papyruses from all around the world, and that indigenous cultures honored and revered as gods? So, we all have one question. Who are the Anunnaki? A lot of people tend to think they might be spiritual beings. Some think they might be multidimensional beings. Others believe they may be actual physical corporeal beings. When you look to the ancient texts and tablets, you discover there's enough circumstantial evidence that they just might be physical beings. But it doesn't rule out that they might have been spiritual beings or multidimensional beings that decided to manifest in the physical form. When you look at the accounts of them from many texts from all around the world, we have the physical evidence of what they looked like according to our ancient ancestors. Some had African features. Some had Caucasian features. Some had Asian features. Some had indigenous American features. So we're talking about a race of people that potentially were multiracial and that may have hailed from many different star systems. As we begin to look into the ancient texts and tablets, we discover something else. These beings, according to the Epic of Gilgamesh, decided that they would make man in their image. Meaning, in some way, we are intrinsically linked to the Anunnaki. We may be the actual offspring, or they may be our progenitors. The theory is that they orchestrated the formation of our solar system and even shaped key ancient civilizations on Earth, such as Sumerian, Egyptian, Mesoamerican, and Asian civilizations. They all can be linked to the ancient texts and tablets from around the world, and the most popular one being the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation. They tell a complete story of the origins of our solar system and even how planet Earth was formed. When you look at all of the ancient star lore, all of the indigenous cultures from all over the world say the same thing. They all say that the sun was the bringer of life, and that when the moon would rise, they would head into the underworld. Some call it Zilbaba. So we see this dichotomy between all cultures. Yin and yang, good and evil, day and night. Some call the Anunnaki the primordial beings that created all life in the entire universe. The tablets lead to a little bit of a clue as to what may have happened. When we look into the Sumerian tablets, we discover that these Anunnaki beings actually claim that there was a creator of all. And they said that this creator of all was even higher than them, and that they would have to answer to that creator for the crimes they committed against humanity on planet Earth. Very interesting that they would make a statement like that, because on Earth, they were masquerading as gods with a lowercase g. They had people worshiping them as if they were gods, as if they were creators of the universe. However, we now know, because of the text left behind, that they themselves knew they were not the creators of the universe, that even they had to answer for their wrongdoings. When you look at what happened during World War II, when America went to the atolls, the islanders there had never seen anyone from outside of their island. They had never seen airplanes, military soldiers, cargo. The actual islanders said, wow, these must be gods. Look at what they have. It appeared to be advanced technology. For them, it was magic. And so when the military gave them things like pants and shirts and cargo full of spam, they worshiped the American people. And they actually tattooed USA on their chest. Not only that, they would make fake runways and use trees and branches to create artificial fighter jets, and they would sit underneath the wings and look up at the sky for hours, waiting for the sky gods to return with more spam and more supplies. So we have to look at this and say, could our world today be a result of a gigantic cargo cult? Were we engaged by beings from outside of the world that came here and brought advanced technologies that to us at that time appeared to be magical? It's quite possible that we were all part of a giant cargo cult and that we're still worshiping these beings today. We know that these beings were not the creators of the universe because they said they weren't. They said they had to answer to somebody even higher than them. In that case, who were they? What were they? And why were they nudging mankind in a specific direction? If we discover that these beings are written in biblical text and in other ancient religious texts, are not really the creator of the universe, it would change the way we see ourselves in the universe. I believe that people will begin to look on the inside for answers instead of looking externally. Could it be that we're giving away our power by looking externally for answers and hoping and wishing and begging to outside deities? Or should we be traveling to inner space and working on self-reliance, working on our inner selves and seeking the answers within? Those are some of the implications that I see when people discover the truth about the Sumerian tablets and other ancient texts from around the world. The Pleiades are part of what astronomers call an open star cluster, a group of stars born around the same time. Telescopes have identified more than 800 stars in that region, though most people could only spot about 6 on a clear, dark night. The Pleiades star cluster is situated in the constellation of Taurus, which is located in the second quadrant of the celestial sphere. In astronomical terms, the celestial sphere is divided into 4 quadrants, each covering 1/4 of the sky. These quadrants are designated as NQ1, NQ2, NQ3, and NQ4, with the numbering starting from the north celestial pole down to the vernal equinox. The second quadrant, NQ2, covers the sky from the vernal equinox to the summer solstice and from the celestial equator up to the north celestial pole. Given that the Pleiades is a northern hemisphere constellation and is located east of the vernal equinox point, it falls within quadrant 2. Imagine being in the Pleiadian star cluster looking back on this little blue planet we call Earth. You might even consider what type of life could live there, possibly considering creating a breakaway civilization and seeding life on planet Earth. The Pleiades cluster is often referred to as the Seven Sisters, due to a mythological association that traces back to Greek mythology. According to the myth, the Pleiades were the 7 daughters of the Titan Atlas, who was one of the greatest gods in the Greek pantheon. The 7 sisters' names were Maya, Electra, Taget, Alcyone, Sierra, Sterope, and Merope. The sisters' characters were said to have been transformed into stars and placed in the sky by the Anunnaki god named Zeus, the king of the gods, either to protect them from the pursuit of the hunter Orion or as a compassionate act following Atlas's punishment of being condemned to hold up the sky. This mythological story was widely known in ancient Greek culture and has been passed down through generations, becoming a staple in star lore and associated with the Pleiades. Now, what's interesting is, how can these cultures that were spread out all around the earth on different continents in different time periods all write about the same story? There must be a connection here with the Anunnaki and these ancient wars. Let's take a look at some of the evidence. We have mega wars in the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. We have incredible weapons being unleashed in the Indian Vedas. We have destruction of planets in the Enuma Elish, and we have a galactic battle in the Terra Papers. These wars were brutal, and it meant that these wars, in my opinion, actually happened because these people were separated by so much space and time, and they all come up with the same exact story. Imagine being in a region of space like the Pleiades where a war breaks out, and weapons of mass destruction are being used to destroy planets and habitable moons. If you're anywhere in that vicinity and huge chunks of debris are coming your way, it can destroy the planet or moon that you're living on. The next logical solution is to leave the planet. I personally believe that people with the ability to leave in their skyships or spaceships, whatever you want to call it, most likely fled their planets and became space refugees, looking and seeking for new planets to inhabit in different star systems so they can create breakaway civilizations. Could this be the origins of colonization? In one of the oldest Vedic texts, known as the Kritika, it references the Pleiades. It also talks about an ancient war, a very brutal conflict that originated there. And then we have the Rig Veda. The Rig Veda is one of the oldest Vedas, and the Rig Veda contains hymns that actually reference battles or conflicts between various tribes and groups, such as the Battle of the 10 Kings, which didn't originate on Earth. Now, they said that these people would battle inside of flying cities, It kind of, to me, alludes to a reference to a gigantic UFO or something flying in the sky. Otherwise, they wouldn't reference the cities as flying. They must have been massive. And then we have the Mahabharata, an incredible story of a celestial battle between celestial gods. We have planets being destroyed. We have moons crashing into planets. We have somebody claiming they were going to destroy an entire system. The planet Tiamat became a severe victim of this. Tiamat broke into pieces and became the asteroid belt. But one giant chunk swung away and recoalesced as the Earth, taking with it land, water, and organic material needed for life. We then have the Pyramid War. Now, this was an incredible war fought by Marduk. Who is Marduk? He's actually listed in the Jewish American Library. He's in the Torah, he's in the Talmud, and he's also in the Bible. This person is actually referenced in more ancient texts as one of the ancient Egyptian gods, Amun-Ra. He was having severe battles with his brother, Thoth, and they were so severe that Thoth's father and Marduk's father, Enki, told Thoth to leave the area and go start a new civilization in Mesoamerica, leaving Marduk to take over and rule over the land of ancient Kemet, which we now know as Egypt. During this process, he started many wars. As a matter of fact, one of his famous quotes is, "I am a jealous God, and there'll be no other gods but me." That actually made it into the biblical text. He also decreed that all people say amen to me and give thanks to me for everything. And that's where the term amen actually originates. He was one of the most brutal rulers of all time. And he started so many wars. And in one of these wars, he was actually losing. In the second Pyramid War, he decided to try to escape into his skyship. Before he left, he actually said, "I decree the riches of the land to my Ra-Kam, K-A-M, which translate now in modern times to Ra-Shield." Who owns and controls predominantly the most riches on planet Earth? The Rothschilds. Over time, the name transferred into the name Rothschilds, but originally it was the Ra-Kam, leading all the way back to ancient Kemet. And then we have the Terra Papers. These are ancient texts that were written and left behind by the indigenous Native Americans. In their star lore, they talk about the creation of life on many planets in many star systems, including Orion and the Pleiades. They also talk about the uprising of a huge galactic war that spanned the entire galaxy. The Terra Papers read just like a Star Wars epic. Matter of fact, is it possible that George Lucas got his ideas from the Terra Papers? Scholars believe that the story of the fall of Atlantis was simply a myth created by Plato to teach a moral lesson, and that the island actually never existed. But Plato described Atlantis as a powerful, advanced island kingdom located at the Pillars of Hercules, which we now know are the Straits of Gibraltar. According to Plato's dialogue, the Timaeus and the Critias, Atlantis was a naval power that conquered many parts of the Western Europe and as well as Africa, more than 9,000 years before its own time. The island was said to be larger than Asia Minor and Libya combined. Atlantis was depicted as a paradise of sorts, with a highly structured society, advanced technology, and abundance of natural resources. The capital city was ranged in concentric circles of land and water, with a formidable central island connected to the sea by a canal. The land was rich, allowing for the cultivation of many crops and the maintenance of a luxurious lifestyle of its inhabitants. The Atlanteans were described as a powerful and noble race, but their eventual decline was attributed to their moral degradation. Plato tells us that their divine protection was withdrawn, leading to their defeat by the Athenians and the eventual collapse of Atlantis into the Atlantic Ocean as a result of earthquakes and floods. We have to look at the entire planet as a whole. We know that Atlantis was a ring city, possibly between America and Africa, somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. However, when you look at all the physical evidence left behind by our ancient ancestors, you see these ties to Atlantis globally.
We found stone tools, predominantly lithic stone tools, but one of the sites has several hundred submerged stone artifacts.
In 2020, I traveled down to Australia. I went down there to meet some Aboriginal elders. I actually went for a walkabout. I went looking for the Gosford glyphs, which is an amazing site in the middle of the outback that have a depiction of the actual Pleiades. Not only a depiction of the Pleiades on land, but even a wall which actually has what they say are Pleiadian hieroglyphs. And these glyphs have not been deciphered to date. These Aboriginal elders also told me their verbal handed down history tell them that they were the first seated people on this planet by the Pleiadians. And then they go on to tell me that even prior to them, there was another race that existed here in a place called Lemuria, which is off the coast of Australia, and it was an island city of people of really highly advanced spiritual nature. They had telekinesis, psychic abilities, and full use of all their mental capacity. This civilization, according to them, lasted for thousands of years, and eventually a collapse of the energetic grid from Lemuria, and it sunk into the ocean. Is this more evidence of some type of war that continues to happen between Pleiadians and other races of people? We see that since Earth potentially is Atlantis that had multiple capitals on it, we also see that there are anomalies in Mars, Cydonia, and we know that Mars was called the god of war. So all of a sudden, we keep seeing this track record of war appearing throughout even our solar system, and Atlanteans appearing throughout our solar system. We even have evidence from Mars soil data that tells us there's xenon in the soil. Not just any type of xenon, weapons-grade xenon. And xenon is a byproduct of what? Nuclear warfare. There's even xenon in the atmosphere of abundant amounts, leading us to believe, again, that there was some type of ancient war right here in our solar system, all leading back to the Pleiades. Also, we find evidence of war inside the Norse runes. We found runes writing inside of one of the shafts of the Bosnian pyramid located in modern-day Bosnia. There's an entire valley of pyramids there covered by the jungle. One day someone said, this shape doesn't look like a regular hill or a mountain, and began to dig, and at the base discovered it was made of megalithic stones. That is now called the Pyramid of the Sun. Underneath the Pyramid of the Sun, there are these shafts, these perfectly square shafts that connect to all the pyramids in this humongous valley in Europe at Bosnia. And then they found something called the K2 megalith inside of one of these shafts. Now, the K2 megalith is this massive crystal sitting inside of one of these shafts underneath the Pyramid of the Sun. And on this giant crystal, there's writing. Not just any writing, writing in runes. The writing says, we must stand in defense until we can open the Stargate. Now, why on earth would somebody write this on a giant crystal underneath a megalithic pyramid thousands of years ago? Again, in my opinion, more evidence leading to the fact that we had some advanced high technology, and we also had the capability of opening up portals and stargates. Is it possible that this is more evidence of an ancient war between the Athenians and the Atlanteans tried to escape to the nearest portal in the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun? There's an actual study called archaeoastronomy. We begin to study the link between actual physical sites on Earth and stars in space, even space anomalies. And in this field of research, we begin to discover a lot of amazing links to the Pleiades right here on Earth. You can see actual physical alignments to the Pleiades at Abu Simbel pyramids located in Egypt, Stonehenge in the UK, Tikal in Guatemala, Pueblo Bonito in Mexico, Lakota Star Map in the Americas, the Chokia Mound in the United States and Illinois, the Gilgamesh tablet located in Mesopotamia, which is now modern-day Iraq, Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the Gosford glyphs in Australia, and even in Cydonia on Mars. They all depict the Pleiades, a physical representation on the ground of a star system that's 444 light years away. 444. In ancient cultures, 444 represented revolution, as in war. If you look in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verses 7 through 9, There's a passage that talks about an explicit war in heaven. It describes a battle where Michael and his angels are fighting against the dragon and his army. The dragon and his army are defeated and then they're thrown down to earth. This is eerily similar to some other accounts that we've heard from around the world from different cultures talking about an amazing war in the heavens and some of the people that lost that war coming down here to planet Earth. And could it be that the beings that fell are the Anunnaki? We now have to also look at more circumstantial evidence. Let's look at artifacts. There are literally dozens of Sumerian cylinder scrolls from all around the region of Mesopotamia, which is now modern-day Iraq, that literally depict the Pleiades. As well as North and South America, there are dozens of artifacts just in the Americas alone that also depict the Pleiades. And don't forget about Europe. What's amazing is all of these scriptures, papyruses, and cylinder scrolls, and even locations on land that depict the Pleiades as a point of origin, connect us to the Anunnaki, to wars, and even the direct connection to life on Earth. This is eerily similar to some other accounts that we've heard from around the world from different cultures, no matter what language, are talking about the Pleiades. It even affects our modern-day culture. If you begin to look at the company called Subaru, they have an actual depiction of the Pleiades on their current logo. And when you look at the word Subaru itself, you begin to realize that Subaru means Pleiades. Why would they use the name Subaru for a company? Well, they understood that they were going to merge the company. They actually had two individual companies in Japan that were coming together. In Pleiades, the ancient term is coming together or cluster. And because of that, they decided to name their company after the Pleiades star cluster. So we're looking at an amazing influence in our modern culture in a corporation by the Pleiades. Even in ancient Egypt, we find that they have text that talks about the Pleiades. They call the Pleiades Chu, C-H-U, represented by the sky goddess Net or Neith. Now, Net is a sky goddess that's been associated with war and wisdom, and is often depicted with a line of stars across her back. Could that be a coincidence? If we look at the Mesopotamian records, we find that the ancient Mesopotamian, which is now modern-day Iraq, they actually have a depiction or text leading back to the Pleiades as well in many of their writings. In Sumerian and Akkadian cultures, they actually reference the Pleiades as Mulmul. While these references are primarily astrological, the significance of the Pleiades in marking times for agricultural and ritual activities could relate to periods of war or peace. With everything that we've seen about the Pleiades and the Anunnaki, we need to redefine all of human history. We must also consider the impact on religious beliefs. Many religions and doctrines will be challenged or reassessed, especially those relating to creation myths and divine intervention. This could lead to potential upheavals in religious communities. There will also be technological implications. The advanced technology possessed by the Anunnaki could revolutionize our understanding of science and life extension. There could be bigger implications. Understanding the Anunnaki could give us a reflection on human behavior. The Anunnaki might offer a mirror to human behavior and motivations, as well as amplified human traits. The insights gained could spark influence in art, literature, and popular culture, inspiring works and ideas rooted in ancient mythology and ideas still relevant today. And finally, the Anunnaki and their ancient secrets revealed could prepare us for future contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. This could profoundly impact our understanding of our place in the cosmos.